Hello, everybody. This is Kevin back with Inspiring How You See That, and we are back again with another one of our exciting exploring segments. As you see here, we are at the Maymont Mansion, and this is just kind of a preview of the beginning of the tour. I'm actually going to take you through a tour through the whole complete estate, and there are some, people from here and there that when we're going through to do the tour, it was kind of a cloudy, rainy day. But make sure you do like and subscribe to these segments. That way you'll get a notification of any of the new up and coming segments that we are doing. This was the front, not the very front entrance, but the beginning of the mansion and a lot of their vehicles back then in the 1800s to early 1900s. And you can only imagine those were, considered their high-end garage as of, like a lot of people have their Lamborghinis or their, Bugattis, whatever it may be in their garage. Those were their high-end, basically their high-end vehicles. So I thought it was cool. So I figured I would show you the inside of the garage and then just kind of take you a walk around through the walkways. But this was established in 1890 when James Dooley, a lawyer, has been a very, very good lawyer because of course, they bought this 100-acre farmland and built this 12,000 square foot mansion. So must have been very well known and paid very well because this place is huge and they put a lot of money into this back in that time period. This is, kind of the surrounding shot of the mansion itself, and I go through it pretty quickly just to kind of show you. I didn't want to take too much time. And if you guys can make it down to Richmond, Virginia, definitely make sure you do and check it out. But if you can't, that's why we made this video, so you can kind of check it out and see. Now, it was pretty dark in the inside of the mansion itself. That was myself, opening the front door and just kind of doing a quick film overview, trying to scroll over some of the people that were there, and then we just go upstairs into the mansion. And as we go, we'll just kind of show you some of the areas and some of the restoration work that was done on the mansion. They did live in this mansion for almost their entire life, for quite some time. And what had happened is once they did depart from the mansion, they gave it to the basically Richmond, Virginia, and told them that they want to, give it to the people that live there and have them enjoy it and be able to do parties and celebrations and, celebrate the mansion. These are the rooms. This is their room. I believe that's the kids' room, and you'll go through and you'll see their room. But all this stuff that was in there was all their original. Most of it was all their original stuff. If it wasn't, it was restored or put back to the like positioning that they had it. I mean, there was a lot of high-end decorative items. This was one of the few houses too that had complete central heating, water, everything, because back then they didn't have a lot of that in the homes. This one had everything, and it took over 3 years to build this home. And as you see, most of the areas where I was kind of scrolling through, and that's why I was going through fairly quickly, is because a lot of this was all blocked off. You really couldn't see a lot of the areas. These are like the guest rooms and the other areas that they had where guests would stay. I don't know why people always put carpet hanging rugs on the wall. I don't know. I don't get into that. But I mean, it was a style, of course, back then. I mean, if you go over to other countries and you see in a lot of the mansions that are over there or visit those, they do the same thing. I'm not big into the hanging rugs on the wall. But this was that was, where she did her makeup and everything. I mean, you can see some of the fine, intricate carving on some of this furniture that was in there. And this was totally blocked off. This was their bathroom and their sinks and their little shower areas, fire pit area. And you can see that they had, people, of course, watching over every little area of the mansion. And then we'll go up to the next level after we get through here and kind of go into the bathroom area. This is another smaller section of the bathroom area. This is, you can go up to like a lookout tower up there, but they wouldn't let you go up there. I don't know if they're restoring it or if it isn't, you know, if there's an issue or something. But I wanted to show you the bathroom and kind of what it looked like at that area in the top upper level. So as you go through, you can see the tables had like card tables, a dining table in the mid area, and then we'll go up to the next area and you see all the stained glass windows. I mean, it was pretty intricate. I mean, a lot of detail. Granted, you know, some of the houses now they build, you know, 30,000-40,000 square feet, you know, even huge, you know, mansions comparable to this one. However, this one had a lot of detail and detailed work into it. So, meaning I would probably rather have a mansion like this that had a lot of the oak trim, a lot of the carvings, a lot of the different style and features comparable to a 30,000 square foot mansion that just has a bunch of stuff kind of slapped together. And when I say slapped together, it's not the higher end stuff, or they don't take the time to detail it out. It's just, you know, basic trim. I mean, a lot of this trim was all carved and finely worked. So the one thing we had talked about is this is on a 100-acre farm. I mean, there's quite a bit of land within the mansion and the estate. And when we get out there, it's going to be quite a lengthy video because there's a lot of gardens and a lot of places to check out as we walk through. So we'll check out all those areas. And if you guys, you know, if there's something you want to see in particular in the video, just fast forward to that section. I mean, that's the great thing about YouTube. This is just kind of a quick scenic tour of the inside of the mansion itself. We walk through it real quick, kind of go over some of the things, show you some of the furniture, some of the rooms, some of the ceilings, some of the intricate work within the mansion. And then we go down into the basement of the mansion, which is really cool with the basement of the mansion. We'll talk about some of those things when we go down there. Now, the lower part of the mansion itself was restored. It's not a lot of like this is a lot of this is all original. I mean, some of it, you know, of course, cleaned up, painted up, stained up, you know, and things like that. But the whole lower level had to be restored. It was just kind of got a little dilapidated over the years of just not being used, because what had happened is they did donate it to Richmond and they just didn't do anything with it at that time. This is their dinner table setting where they would have their dinner and everything, and they had this really all blocked off except for a lot of the serve. I mean, you can see all the serving platters, all the everything where they would eat. I mean, this was all sterling silver, all the high end stuff that you dishes you would eat on. And then they had all the china and all the fancy painted dishes in the cabinets. And as you can see, the cabinetry, without me even zooming up on it, it's all finely carved. I mean, the ceilings, everything in the ceilings carved. This is what I'm talking about with the intricate detail to this house. And then you have another living area, like a living room kind of thing. Just, I don't know if they called that a sitting area back then, but a lot of the stuff on display, I mean, this was a high ceiling. Now, these chandeliers, one thing you want to keep in mind with these chandeliers, they weren't very common back then. So they had to special make a lot of these. And it was one of their first in Richmond where they had a lot of this, you know, the high end stuff. And you can see too that I zoomed in on the wall. I mean, this is all decorative, intricate work that was done within the walls, the ceilings. I mean, countless hours was spent just building some of these rooms and adding all this extra fine detail. Now, not a lot of that up in there was all, you know, painted and redone because of over time. I mean, with stucco and some of the things, it does tend to age. This is just a picture of the sitting room, just kind of a demo picture of that area, and something that they had pulled out of the estate pictures that was within that estate, a picture from that estate. And then we go into we call this the study lounge, I guess, or the study area. And there was a lot of books, a lot of other stuff within that area. And then we get out to the front entrance again. So we're going to be coming through the front entrance. I just kind of wanted to scroll through and show you, the hand-carved lions and some of the little off rooms that were in the mansion itself. There's nothing really in there. I don't know. And then this was another stairwell. I believe you couldn't go up, but yeah, that was the staffing. There was an extra office room, and these were their call center. I mean, imagine that this was one of another things too, that they had phones. I mean, phones didn't really come into play until later in the 50s, 60s, more or less, being used more in the 50s, 60s/70s. But I mean, this was in the 1800s, from the 1890s to the 1930s. And here's another cabinetry display. This is mahogany cabinet. It's all finely carved. I mean, it's just amazing, all this, the work that they put into the all these cabinets and everything. And these were all the original ones that were in this facility. So I believe there's a few other things here in the front. There's the gold statue, and then there's a couple little off rooms in the front, but we'll just skip through that, and then we'll come out to the exit area to the basement level. Now, when we go into the basement level, this is their entry level. There was a couple other ways to get to it in the house, but they didn't have those areas restored. This is the restored entry area, and this is where the workers would just come in, so they didn't have to come in through the house. This was their entrance where all the workers would come in that actually lived at the facility. So as you walk through, you can see, I mean, this is all new current. When I say current, they didn't use a lot of drywall in this style of drywall. You can tell it's all new. They have cameras down there and every little thing. Now, what's really, really neat is if you look to the left there, I just passed it here, and here it is. This is the elevator. So imagine that in an late 1800s, early 1900s. Very, very, very rare to have an elevator in a house. So they did have an elevator. They had they called it dumb waiter, where you could pull up the food and the laundry. So I mean, everything was done down here. This is where everybody lived that worked there. Their beds and everything was all in one area, and their little stoves to heat their area down there. And it was all blocked off. I mean, you could listen to little microphone things. As you could see, this lady there is listening to a microphone. You just kind of go up and they play them. And this talks about some of the workers that were there during the summer. I mean, you can kind of read through all that. I just wanted to show you some of the history, and they have some history written on the walls about some of the sayings and some of the things that the workers had talked about, and they just placed it on the wall. So that way you can kind of get a little bit of a piece of history. That was they called that the cold room, but I would say storage area, refrigerator area for all their food and stuff. And then this was another workers area. There was actually another room in the basement that was closed off. It was called the coal room. I would assume that was their heating room, some sort. Maybe they kept the coal in there to heat the house, and they burned coal for heat. I don't know. I couldn't tell, so I really can't tell you that. This is their wash area, and as you see, I mean, they washed everything by hand. There wasn't washers and dryers, so they would heat up everything, wash it all by hand, and put it through the washers and the wringers, and then put it on the drying racks and dry it that way. You can only imagine how stiff your clothes would be. I mean, they would starch them back then, and they would just be really, really uncomfortable. I think if you wear the clothes from then being washed, they get hand washed. I just feel they're really just uncomfortable. So these are a lot of the canned goods and the canning area, and those of course aren't the originals. They had placed and purchased a lot of the originals, the lookalike originals that were in there. So I mean, a lot of this is all just place. As I said, the whole complete basement was restored, and put all the stories of the workers in there. There was little placards telling about the workers, how long they worked there, what they did, and which one, which worker was involved with what. And this is the cooking station and the cooking area, and then you can't see it, but in the back, I was talking about the dumbwaiter where they bring up the food and everything, and here's that elevator again, and then to your right, which you couldn't go in there, I don't understand why, is the coal room. I don't know why you couldn't go in there. I'm just thinking it wasn't part of the full restoration side of things, because they did restore a lot of this all in the basement. There are some parts of the mansion that still aren't restored. Now, this is the back side of the mansion. This is where we get into a lot of walking. This is, as I said, you can fast forward a lot of this if the walking's boring to you, or it's not interesting to you, or you don't like gardens. That's what this is. This is all basically their gardens, and I thought this was so cool because this is their, I think you call it like the Japanese garden style, and you can walk up and it just looks like it goes on forever. It was huge, and even back in the early 1900s, it was bigger. They did a lot of restoration work to this, I believe in the later 1970s, 60s, I'm somewhere in there. But they did do a lot of restoration work to get this back to where it was. I mean, the gardens were even bigger than they are now. I couldn't imagine taking care of all of this. But as you see, I mean, we're just still continuously walking. And this is just the pillar areas and the coverage areas of the garden. And this is the start of the garden area. So as you walk through, they had a lot of different plants, and this is kind of in the winter time when I'm doing this video. So I mean, a lot of the plants, a lot of the flowers, you can only imagine in the spring, in the blooming of all the flowers, how cool this would look. Right now, most of the stuff is kind of dormant and dead, like even the grass, you can tell. They had their fountains, of course, still going, and you walk through, these are all different types of flowers and plants, and I'm not sure of all. I'm not a gardener, so I don't know all the names of all the plants, or I would tell you all the names of all the plants. But you can just go through and check it all out. I mean, it's really cool, and just imagine this in the spring, summertime, when everything's in full bloom. And there's a lot of little gated areas, and I'm going to walk up to these gated areas because you can see this is their lower part levels of their garden area, and it was bigger. It was back even on the sides of the hills and everything, but they didn't restore all that. And there's a whole stream and a fountain area that goes down into the lower level. You can see the stream literally that's coming underneath this front garden, and then it goes down through all the way to the bottom, and we'll walk down there. What we really liked about this area, when they did give this to the residents of Richmond, they do hold a lot, I mean a ton of events. Even when we were there, they had that, you'll see a lot of the signs. It's called the Glow. This is a picture I was actually drawn from the garden of the wife at the garden. So you see the signs that say the Glow, and they have lights everywhere. So at night they have like this party, and they just light up everything. They light up the falls, they light up the trees, they light up the mansion, and it's really cool. So they're doing a lot of parties still and events, and it's nonstop at this location. Of course, a lot of weddings happen there. Here's where the water comes out of the river area and flows down. We're going to walk down there. We're going to walk down the complete steps into another lower garden area. This is where it just gets really big, and as far as when I say big, there's a lot of acreage of coverage of just gardens, and it's very, very cool. this is the other. I mean, there's two, as you see, there's two sides of the steps to go down, and there's, of course, the fountain area over here. A lot of people are throwing change and stuff into there. I mean, I think it's a wishing well, but it's not. It's just technically a stream, a flow stream that goes all the way down to the lower gardens. And this was another part. They had to redo a lot of the steps. I mean, a lot of the steps were kind of broken out and kind of fallen apart over the time. But they redid a lot of the fountains and the steps, and even the walkways they redid. So we were talking about how big this place was and about the historic side of things. And what's really cool is this was named one of the top 10 scenic places to go check out. And I thought that was pretty cool, you know, and that's why we'd like to do these history and exploring segments, to share that with you, and some of the knowledge that we didn't even know about the places, and kind of what, you know, what's all involved, and what awards they have won, and, you know, the history of it. I mean, there's some things that we just don't know about, so that's why we always like to go out and discover and share that with you guys, especially if you can't make it. And, you know, if you do have a hard time walking or anything, that's why I wanted to show you this lower level, because I mean, there was a lot of stairs and a lot of intricate areas, a lot of areas where you could fall. So it is a pretty tedious area on the lower part of it, but you can still see, as we were talking about things in full bloom, this is kind of the fall time, and you know, some of the trees and the reds, the yellows, it looked pretty cool down there for the fall time. And you'll see I'll mix in a couple pictures here and there, just showing you kind of what, you know, the fall looks like there. This is the lower, once I get down here, this is the total lower area of the garden center. Now, they did restore a lot of this, and this was another area that was even bigger than it was. There's, as you see, there's like a little pond area with fountains and stuff, and we'll walk all around there. And here's some of those lights where they just light up the whole garden centers, and they have tents down there, they have food and things. Of course, they didn't have that now, but they had you could tell where they had some tents set up, and they had one tent, I believe, that was still there. This is the back side of the falls, where we were just up top there, and I walked up there just to show you kind of what these falls look like. And I mean, how far up we were comparable to now. And I mean, this was just imagine. I mean, back then they had tables and little sitting areas here. They could just sit here and just relax at the fall areas. But this is all still part of the mansion. I mean, the mansion, as you see, is just huge. I mean, the areas and everything that they have to take care of. I mean, they must have had at least 10 people. I couldn't find any information about how many people worked for them at one time, or how many were there, or what each person, you know, did in particular on the ground side of things of the house. They had everything detailed in the house, but I didn't see, you know, who takes care of all the grounds. I mean, there's probably at least 5 to 10 people had to do this daily. I mean, this was just a job. So there's the distance view, and you can see up at top all the steps coming down to the falls, and it looks really cool with the red on the trees and the fall part of things. But as we were talking about the flowers, I could only imagine what the flowers and everything would look like in full bloom in the summertime. And here's some more of the lights that light up on the mountain sides, and they make the rock kind of glow because you see the green in the rocks. They're like a purple lighting. So it does look pretty neat, and I don't have any pictures, we weren't there at night, to show you the glow effects, and that's one of their generators for all the lighting. I mean, there was just a ton of lights. And these are some streams and side streams to the garden center that's in the lower area, and we'll walk around fairly quickly through some of these stream areas and sidewalks and walkway areas. And I believe that's a weeping cherry tree. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I really like those because those are they don't get real big, and they have a lot of color. and they look pretty cool. So you can see, some of the lighting there that's covered up, and I have lights along each trail as you walk through. And there's a little stream over here to the left of me. You can't really see it, but there was just streams everywhere going through and then they would lead into this one big pond, which we're going to get up to the pond area and let you guys check it out. They had some koi and some other little fish in that pond. And to the right, that's all bamboo. So it is full of bamboo, and it looked pretty neat. I mean, they have all the lights up to the bamboo, and they had some little paths, some little area pass through the bamboo. You can see where people have kind of gone through it. I didn't go through the bamboo. I didn't really want to go through any of those paths because it would make it difficult for everybody to see. But there was paths everywhere. We could be down here for another 20, 30 more minutes talking about some of the other areas that are off to the back area of the gardens. Now, if you go further out, you'll see the streets and everything are kind of off to the right area. And you can see people walking out because it's all fenced still. And you can see people walking around the fences. This is the pond to the left of me here. And you can see where they have everything staked up. The stakes typically aren't there, but this is just for the lighting in the show because they get a ton of people and they don't want to fall on, of course, into the pond. And you can see as we're walking, it's raining. Wasn't one of the bestest of days, but still had some fun checking this all out and filming it. But here's the pond area, and you can see all the coloring. I mean, just imagine that in summer. I mean, it looked really cool. I thought it was a pretty cool shot. I took a couple pictures and saved those in with the whole presentation of this video. So this is the area where they had a lot of the tents. That's why they have a little rent me, and then they put all little stools, sitting areas, and areas where they could just sit. People could just sit here and enjoy the garden area. Now, this is a walking area where you can walk out over the ponds and check them out. And you can see they're not real deep, especially in spots. Some spots deeper than others. I mean, it's just basically a pond for the smaller fish, and just something to enjoy as a gardener. That's all. It's nothing real deep or fishing holes or anything like that. You can tell that they're gonna have to be redoing a lot of these pavers, especially all the foot traffic that goes through, and they'll probably have to clean it up after this. I don't know if it was the Thanksgiving light up glow event, but it was a bigger event where there was a lot of people that have gone through the area to check it out. Now, I thought this was pretty cool. They had these little circular walk area too into the pond area, and you can tell, kind of going slow through this area so you can see what it, kind of all consisted of. But they're just little round circular areas. You just hop from each one to other one, and if you fall in anyways, it's not real. I mean, who wants to get wet and in that murky water? But yeah, it wasn't real deep. But we'll get across here, and then we're going to walk up further into the upper area, and then kind of walk. When we walk up that upper area, we'll walk on the back side of the mansion and talk about the mansion a little bit more. But this is just kind of the ending of the mansion area. Now, on the other side, there are some more gardens and some gazebo areas and things like that we didn't even get to and didn't even show you. So if you want to see some more of that, we will put that in the links. You can just kind of go to the mansion. I mean, there's so many pictures online that you can check out, and they have the history behind everything on their website too as well. So there is a lot of documented information. Now, getting back to the mansion itself and the house, they really didn't. I was going to put some drawings in there and some other things, but I guess a lot of the details of the drawings of the house and the details didn't get saved in the archives, or they didn't. I don't know if they got thrown away or damaged, or they just didn't want people to see them. But I couldn't find any of that, and I wanted to share some of that with you to show you some of the drawings and the layouts of the mansion, but they didn't have any of that. So this is the backside, and you can go, I mean, there's so many different trails. This was just one other stepping trail that goes up through. And it's very naturey, as you'll see when we're walking up through. I mean, there's squirrels, deer. And you'll see there was a couple deer. I mean, even when I'm walking up this hill. But it's basically on the mountainside. So you just kind of walk up the mountainside, and these are a lot of the original stones that were there when you were, walking up in the 1800s, 1900s. And you'll think that's a fake deer, but it's real. Like I said, there was a lot of you can see him eating. Wondering what I was doing. So I don't think too many people came up the backside of the stepway area, but the deer really didn't like me back there. As you can see, he was stomping, trying to scare me out of there. But we'll keep walking up these steps and walk by the deer and go up to the other back side of the mansion area. So that's what we're going to do now, and just kind of walk up, and you can, all these rocks that are still there they haven't been moved, haven't been touched, nothing's been restored here. And I think that's why probably a lot of people don't walk up this area, because it's a little bit more dangerous than most, and I don't think they want to brave it. But I did see a couple people walking up there. And this is another overflow backside of the stream. There's not really any water running out there, but it's just basically an overflow. And then you just walk up to the backside area, and you can check it out on this side. It's a very, very scenic area. And then you can tell this, I think this was the other part of the gardening area. This was one that they haven't restored yet, but that whole other area used to be gardens and garden areas too as well. Not only that, we didn't talk about the front entrance area into the mansion. I think those are like the Italy or Italian gardens. I don't know. I mean, there was just gardens everywhere. And these are original roadway going up into the mansion, and you can only imagine if they were driving down their horse and their buggy down this road. And we had talked about into another one about when we were at the cemetery, and just imagining having your buggy going down the pathways at the cemetery. And this is basically the same thing. I don't know. I mean, the rocks that they use, I think it would be pretty bumpy, but they wanted to still have a paved area. But I couldn't imagine riding a horse and buggy through there. Talk about back hurting and being sore. I mean, we're spoiled nowadays with, shock absorbers and shocks on cars and smooth rides. Back then, I mean, you could just imagine being bumped all over the place. So this is on the other side of the mansion itself, and there's a front fountain area. This fountain area was pretty cool. I don't think a lot of people even walk back to this fountain area, but this is a fountain area that's observing the house, the whole front entrance, and there's two pillars there. But that's just, they're looking at that front house, and they didn't have the fountain on, but it sprays up the fountain, and then there's a whole upper area, pond area in front of that fountain. And then up on these beams, they would have like little fire or candles of some sort up there during certain time periods. But you can see they had the lighting over there for the castle. But this is, kind of the ending, the conclusion of the castle and the back side of the castle. And all we're going to do now is we're just going to kind of go up through and walk, just kind of check out the other front entry areas to the castle, where you can, I think we talked about the Italian garden, which is right off over here. There was a gardening area, and some of the other garden areas will show you just the back side of it. So we're kind of walking, instead of coming in the front area where we first showed you coming in, we're on the other side of that. And this is where back over here where all the horse buggies and the sleighs and everything were in the garage. And you can come down here into the other first, I wouldn't call it maybe second or first entry of the garden center. Then these are some other guest houses that are in the front entry area that we had passed that you didn't see. And they didn't have those open to the public, but those are all other guest areas. So make sure you guys do, like and subscribe to these segments, especially, anything up and coming, you'll get a notification to it, whether we're doing exploring segments or we're doing the music segments, artist spotlights, whatever it may be that's related or affiliated with our channel. We always love to do that, love to share these, and love your guys' comments and your put in there if there's something you are looking for. As we always say, if there's something you're looking for in that area, we'll try to maybe check it out, get that film out. But we're going through, and this is the conclusion, and we're at the ending of the Maymont Mansion.